This is episode 31 of the Animus podcast. I'm Arthur. That's McCrackenway.
Hi.
That's Aries.
Hello, this is definitely Aries and not anyone else.
And that is GhostLeader from the subreddit. Say hello, GhostLeader.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
This week we have a bunch of different things to talk about. Lots of them are a ton of fun, some slightly less so. But I think it all should be pretty good. Before we get going, and before we get into what we all did this week, I just wanted to know from you, the listener, about what kind of format you prefer for this podcast. Do you prefer the episodes where we have every single news segment is like a separate segment, or where we tackle all the news, because most of them are pretty minor pieces of news, all in one segment? So basically, what I'm asking is, do you want musical interludes in between every news piece, or only between each segment? So, first, before we get into the discussion, what did everyone do this week of note? Right after last episode, I went to go see The Martian in theaters, which was really good. I definitely recommend it, especially if you've read the book, because that adds a lot to it. Has anyone else seen The Martian yet?
I have not. I don't know.
Yep.
Was it because I do kind of...
I saw it last night.
feel like I should read the book beforehand, and I do not have time to read any books, apart from all the sources I have to read for classes.
Lawson, what did you think of it?
I really loved this movie. It is definitely 100% a science movie, so people who aren't totally interested in science might want to stay away from it. But it's got a lot of heart, and I respect that they were able to keep that emotional investment strong without having to resort to like cheap romantic subplots or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Totally agree.
I have not read the book, though. I've not read the book.
You should. Even after you've watched the movie, it's still worth it to read the book, because it adds a lot to his relationship with the crew's relationship with each other, what's going on at NASA. There are actually some other events while he's on Mars which are affected, which are very interesting. You should definitely check it out if you have the time.
I also saw the movie two days ago, and I really liked it. I also bought the book, but I only managed to read 10 pages so far. But I really enjoyed the movie. I actually like the fact that it's more science-oriented than science fiction. And the fact that it's so plausible. I really like the humor in it, like the fact that you're stranded on Mars. And, the guy is not really hating on anyone. He's just trying to do his best to survive. I really like the movie. I'm looking forward to reading the book.
So, the way it sounds, I feel like, from an outside perspective so far, it sounds like it can be compared somewhat to Interstellar, because you've been saying a lot of things that I could also apply to Interstellar, although Interstellar is probably more... I mean, because Interstellar is a bunch of mostly stuff traveling between things and very high-tension scenes that are like 5 to 10 minutes long, where they're trying to reconnect with things, and it's very tense. Is this... So I can't have those high-tension scenes in the same way, right? I thought this was better. Think it's better?
I thought this was better than Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
I actually liked Interstellar better, but... Yeah, go on.
Interstellar is a bit more memorable. That's something that I can give to that. So I'll probably remember more specifics and scenes from Interstellar than I will from The Martian. But I feel like Interstellar kind of... I don't know. There was something about it that just didn't grab me super well. I really enjoyed that movie. It's not like I didn't like it or anything. And I love the soundtrack. So good.
Yeah, the soundtrack for Interstellar was phenomenal.
It's a really interesting soundtrack, because I feel like it's one where, like... Because everybody loves Hans Zimmer, but I feel like he does a lot of similar things for a lot of the movies he scores, and Interstellar felt massively different. Like, it's just so well scored for what's happening in it.
the organ really changed his game.
I think he didn't score most of the music. I think it was some other guy. I don't remember his name, but
he's definitely credited on the soundtrack, though.
He's credited. Yes, I think he did the main theme or something like that. But I don't think he did the entire soundtrack by himself. So it's not most of his work that you hear inside the movie. I think.
Yeah. And other things this week, I got the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection. Since I've never played the Uncharted games when I had a PS3, so I'm actually really excited to play through those, and I'm having a ton of fun right now as well, because I'm on to UC2. Like, UC1 wasn't really that good, and it felt very dated, because it's really old, but so that felt like more of a slog to get through it, but then as soon as I got to Uncharted 2, it, all my worries about the other games were like released, and I'm just loving this game so much. Have you guys played the Uncharted games before?
I've never played any Uncharted games.
I've played 1 and 3.
Oh man,
because 3 was, I mean, they were both cheap when I got them, and there. I really enjoyed 3 especially, and 1 was pretty entertaining when I played it. I've not been able to do a full replay of it because it doesn't grab me again. But I know that 2 is considered the best, and I do want to play 2 at some point. It's just right now, I don't have the motivation or the time to get it and play it, especially since we're right up against so many other things like Syndicate for one. I'm about to start playing The Witcher 3's first expansion when it comes out in 2 days, which I'm very excited for. But
I played Uncharted Golden Abyss for the PS Vita, and that's my only Uncharted experience.
I don't think that one's as good.
Was it any good?
I would like to play the main trilogy, but I am concerned because what you said, Aftermath, is what I've heard a lot of people saying, and that is that the first game is a pain in the ass to get through. And though 2 and 3 or 2 mostly might be amazing games that you want to play, it's I don't know if I really want to play through Uncharted 1 just to play through 2 and 3. It's kind of like, the Walking Dead thing, where people always say, "Oh, it gets good in the later seasons," but if the first 2 are so freaking boring, I'm not gonna do that.
I don't think you need to play 1 personally. I mean, I guess I don't know how much it ties into 2, but it felt
really.
In 3, I felt like characters that I didn't actually know who were from 2 were reintroduced. Well enough that I didn't feel like I was missing out too much.
Yeah, all that Uncharted 1 would do to introduce you to 2 would be it brings up this character who recurs in the series twice, and she's kind of a big character, but I
think you can get the gist of it.
Yeah, it's never brought up what they
exactly
did
happened
in the first one.
Yeah. I mean, they're never oh, hey, remember that time on the island with all those pirates? Yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope you're in the loop, guys.
It's more oh, these 2 have some history.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of what I felt in 3, because I missed 2. Stuff obviously happened in 2, but you get the gist of what what the problems are and where they are.
How did you miss 2?
I just didn't. I was just not keeping up on the Uncharted series. I actually got Uncharted 3 at the same time as Saints Row the 3rd, just on a whim. Because I kind of think of Uncharted as it's almost like I consume Uncharted in the same way I consume a movie. They're really good games. They're a lot of fun, but it's like a quick playthrough with popcorn. You play them for the character and for some of the set pieces and for the story, but it's not a game that I follow avidly for oh man, I really love the this system in it, or I really love X. I really like things in it, but for me, it's really just like, again, like a popcorn game, I guess. Like it's a fun, shortish experience.
There's a reason it's called Indiana Jones the Game.
Yeah, it does feel like that. Certainly.
Yeah, but the Uncharted games actually feel that Indiana Jones niche because there aren't really many modern movies with treasures inside, and I actually really like the genre. And I've never played any of the games. I've watched playthroughs of all three of them. Like way back in 2008, I think I watched a playthrough of the original Uncharted. It was like 50 videos, and it was 10-minute videos because of the restrictions on YouTube back then. And it took me so much time to watch them, but I really liked it. Then Uncharted 2 came out. I was so excited. But I haven't played any of them. I don't own a PlayStation, but I've seen all of the videos, and I'm actually going to watch a playthrough of the collection again, so I can get up to speed before Uncharted 4. And I really like the genre. It's the adventure like genre.
So what you're saying is
populated these days.
What you're saying is let's cast Nolan North to play Indiana Jones.
Yes.
I feel like
actually
it doesn't feel like the genre is kind of fade away because I guess people have started to realize, hey, that's not actually how archaeology works. And while the genre is fun, people are like, eh.
Yeah, the only other game...
It doesn't have to involve archaeology.
The only other game that kind of
fills that... It can just be treasure hunting.
The only other game that kind of fills that kind of void is Tomb Raider. And the recent reboot, they kind of moved away from that whole thing, given the extreme lack of tombs in the first reboot. But
there was a Tomb DLC, man.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, but it's like side. Tombs become like a side activity.
Yeah. But you don't have to have an archaeologist or some kind of scientist, because Nathan Drake is basically more of a roguish type.
Thief.
No,
that's true.
He's basically a thief, and that's part of his charm.
Well, the subtitle for Uncharted 2 is Among Thieves, so he categorizes himself as a thief pretty quick.
Or is a thief's end.
Yeah. Where everyone thinks he's gonna die or someone's gonna die. It's gonna be a good time. Uncharted 4. It's probably gonna be a very happy storyline. I bet everyone's probably gonna die. It's made by the same guys as The Last of Us, so
Last of Us was made by the same guys as the first two.
But Amy Hennig also was the creative director on 1, 2, and 3. But then Neil Druckmann was the creative director on
Uncharted 5. Nathan Shipp's
I see.
Then, Neil Druckmann was the creative director on Last of Us, and he's the creative director on Uncharted 4 as well. Which is that connection, which is where the slight difference is in probably storytelling. I think we'll see.
You can actually see the progression, how the studio evolved through the Uncharted games, because the first game, it was more of a graphical demo for the PS3 back then. And then Uncharted 2 came out. It improved upon almost everything people complained about in the first game. It's generally considered the best Uncharted game. Then Uncharted 3 came out, and then The Last of Us, which again was the pinnacle of PS3 gaming, basically. Lots of Game of the Year awards. So you can see the studio evolve and grow through the years. And hopefully, Uncharted 4 will be as good as Uncharted 2 at least.
This whole situation definitely reminds me of AC in a way, actually, to tie it back into AC, with Uncharted 1 being more of a tech demo in the early days of the PS3, moving out of the PS2 era, and then Uncharted 2, just like AC2, really coming into its own and really using all those dynamics and the storyline given to really shine. And then Uncharted 3 and the other AC games following it kind of fell off that pattern a little bit, but for the most part they kept up that quality, that level of quality that the other games had.
I'm really hoping that Watch Dogs gets a second game that is it's AC2, you know?
Yeah.
Because it seems like an example of a series where the first game was like, yeah, okay, we see what you wanted to do, but you're not really getting there yet.
And then
it's a series with potential, but as with Assassin's Creed 1, it wasn't really all that well realized. It used a lot of the Ubisoft tropes, like towers and parkour and stuff like that. So the game didn't really have an identity of its own. Hacking wasn't... It was very easy to do, but it didn't really do so much to the gameplay as a whole. And the rest was... It generally seemed like a game that was made to appeal to all kinds of audiences, people that love gunplay, people that love stealth, people that like free running and climbing and stuff like that. And
speaking of games that are supposed to apply to all audiences, the Star Wars Battlefront beta was out this weekend.
I've heard very mixed things about that.
Yeah, same. I have very mixed thoughts. I played some of it yesterday. I'm going to play some more today to try and like nail down what I think about this game. But currently, it looks like I will not be getting it because, like the main thing I've heard is that it's very, very casual. It's very aimed at the very casual market. The kind of people that haven't played Battlefield games, the kind of people that would probably just buy it because they really enjoyed The Force Awakens, which is coming out like a month later, I think. But, like, for a few years I played COD, I played Battlefront, Battlefield. So, I am more of, like, a hardcore shooter fan than just super casual. And so that kind of isn't sitting well with people who are both hardcore shooter fans and also hardcore Star Wars fans because it kind of breaks canon at several points.
And also people who enjoyed like some of the original stuff from the original Battlefronts.
Yeah, it's interesting how they kind of kept some legacy features, but then they also moved away from that in other ways. It's very interesting. The UI is also very interesting, very sleek, very simplistic. I'm not sure how much I like it, given it's not very specific and it's not easy to play because there isn't really much of a tutorial or anything. And so there's all these different things that you have to work out slowly on your own, which often, then because we're in the middle of a battlefield the entire time, you often get killed while trying to figure out those things. That's all very interesting.
I feel like a lot of betas kind of suffer from that as well, because a lot of betas are kind of devoid of a tutorial.
Yeah. That
you'd expect in like a full retail game. So it's just you're just kind of stuck on that front.
Yeah.
As the casual gamer that you're talking about when you say someone who likes Star Wars but isn't necessarily a fan of shooters, I like that they're going in that direction with it, being something that you don't have to be a hardcore gamer to play and enjoy. Because my experience with shooters has always been that I'm terrible at them for whatever reason. And so I tend to stay away from shooters for the most part unless they have something else that makes me interested in them. Battlefront has that. I love Star Wars. I love the mythology, and I love the idea of a game that perfectly simulates the feeling of being part of the rebel forces running out on Hoth or wherever and blowing people up. It's something that I can really get behind, but I can't play this game because of my satellite internet does not permit for any real-time online gaming of any sort. Our ping is like 650, which is horrible.
That's bad. That's really bad.
That's bad.
Getting as high as 180 will ruin a game for you. We're at 650, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. As you said, Connor, we're getting a lot of mixed reactions. It'll be interesting to see how it sells.
It's gonna sell a lot.
Yeah, it'll sell a lot. I think it'll sell a lot, but it'll be similar to Unity in where like it sells a lot, but a lot of people just hate it.
Yeah,
I mean, like to Lawson's point, like I don't think it's a wrong opinion or like a wrong feeling to enjoy it because it is casual, like aimed like that. But then I guess the flip side of that is like if you are a hardcore gamer, like used to like various things that the industry has done in various places that shooters have gone since, like the original Battlefronts, or if you played the original Battlefronts, the changes that are made to that, I think that can be kind of prohibitive. Like that would make hardcore gamers like.
Yeah,
like
exactly. That's what it appears to be doing.
Kind of
that's
the trade-off. Yeah.
That's where most of the mixed feedback is coming from in that regard. Like people, gaming journalists and things like that, who are experienced gamers, aren't really enjoying it as much as someone who just heard about this game and they are excited for The Force Awakens, and so they thought they'd maybe check it out. From what I've seen, and that's probably what they're going for here, is with aligning their marketing alongside The Force Awakens to just appeal and jump off all of that.
Yeah, that was always the plan. I think I've even read that for the first 3 or so million copies sold, Disney would get like 1% of the money they make, and after that, EA can profit out of the franchise. I think that was part of their agreement for the rights to make games. I would compare the Battlefront beta to Titanfall. I think it's a very similar game because it's very it's multiplayer focused, doesn't have a single player story, and Titanfall was sort of like this slightly casual experience compared to Call of Duty or Battlefield, and I think Battlefront is really in that sort of genre where it's fairly easy to get into, and it's more resemblant to the modern shooters rather than the old Battlefront games with lots of tanks and vehicles to pilot and lots of infantry classes. My experience with the beta was, very mixed, as with many other people. I've played a lot, and while it runs very well, I think I didn't really like the time to kill. It was very low. It's like, if someone starts shooting you in the back, you just can't turn around and kill him fast enough. What else? The maps. I didn't really like the size of the maps. They're fairly small, and I'm a hardcore Battlefield player. I think I haven't played the first few games of the series. I've played Battlefield 2 and onwards, and I really didn't like how DICE changed the game over the years, and it was made to appeal to more wider audiences, to more casual fans. And Battlefield 4 was a fairly simplified experience compared to the previous games, and I think Battlefront is aiming for a more similar experience, where things were on rails, so to say. You can't pilot the AT&Ts, was it? The big walkers, you can't pilot them, you can't shoot stuff with it. It's all scripted in that sense, like Titanfall.
I think one thing that's going to...
I think the biggest...
I think one thing that's going to hurt it is that, just for longevity, I feel like really to have a long tail on a game, you really need to appeal to the people who will keep playing it, the hardcore gamers, whereas the casual gamers will pick it up for a bit. And then
that's exactly what the problem with Titanfall was. The gameplay was fun in Titanfall, but it didn't have the depth, it didn't have the longevity. I bought Titanfall
that might help sales to appeal to casual audiences, but it will not help long-term critical reception, or if DLC comes out for it. I don't think that's going to help that at all. And obviously DLC will come out for it, map packs and stuff. I don't know.
The biggest problem for me with Battlefront is that it feels like, and I'm someone who actually played Battlefront 2 a lot when I was very young. Young enough that I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I still like to count myself as being one of the, fans of the original games. Battlefront 2, had so many features. So for this game, this new Battlefront, to come out and kind of be a successor to those original games, it's a little confusing that so many things are completely missing. So many features are gone. There's no single player. There's no galactic conquest. There's basically, it's less than half of Battlefront 2's content. So to be a game that's coming out a decade later and has less stuff in it than Battlefront 2, it's disheartening.
For me, I think the weirdest thing is the lack of a campaign. And I mean, it's fine to have, this new genre of multiplayer-focused games. That's fine. But I feel like Battlefront, a Star Wars game, I don't really think fits into that, because I feel like if there's any series that should have like a really lore-heavy campaign, would be a Star Wars game. Just because, I mean, that's what... I mean, Star Wars started out as movies. It's not...
It's a Star Wars game. It has to have a story, because you have all that huge universe with so many stories, so many characters. You can even create your own characters. There's so many interesting things you can do with the story. I don't know why it doesn't have a story. I think a Star Wars game at least should have a story.
I mean, one of the strangest things to me is, like, one of the key parts of the Battlefield series is the fact that you can get in vehicles and things like that. And you just go to the hangar, go to the runway, and get in the vehicle. Meanwhile, here, you just run around randomly hoping you'll pick up a token, and then you can activate it, and suddenly you'll get a screen wipe, and then you'll be in the vehicle, which is... I think it's... having played it, it's fine, I guess, but it's just kind of strange to me that they took away that whole aspect.
It loses some of the magic, I think.
Yeah.
They did that actually with Battlefield, because, like Lawson said, Battlefield 2 had lots of maps, lots of classes. It had a lot more vehicles, and then Battlefield 3 came out, and it got literally half of the features. Squads were smaller, there were less maps, there was no commander mode. Basically, it was a successor. It carried 3 in the title, and it lacked so many features. And in Battlefield 4, they returned some of the features, but they introduced this exact thing, where instead of actually going to the helicopter or to the plane, you basically click on the spawn menu and you spawn exactly into the plane, and it spawns it on the field instead of being in a hangar or on the runway. So I think they did it because in previous Battlefield games, where people were waiting for the choppers to spawn, so you had like 5 people in the base not doing anything, and they waited for the chopper to spawn so they can get inside and try to pilot it. But I don't really like that option where you just spawn inside the vehicle, because I think the idea is that everyone can get a chance at piloting a vehicle, because if you die a lot, eventually you'll be able to spawn inside a jet or a chopper or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
but see, the thing is that not everyone wants to fly the jets, fly the TIE interceptors. Like, when with the Battlefield system where you go to the runway or the hangar, then that means that you want to actually get in the stuff. Meanwhile, we have people that I think it works for the beta because everyone gets a try, but you have people that just randomly pick it up and jump in, even though they want to keep running around, because you can't pick up any other tokens once you've picked up one of them, so you're stuck with the TIE fighter. And so what you find happening is everyone just dive bombs the objectives. No one's actually like dogfighting or shooting the ground. They are just ramming the jets into the ground and exploding, trying to kill someone, trying to kill a vehicle, trying to kill Darth Vader. And so I think that if it's so that only people who want to fly the stuff actually you have to go to it, then you wouldn't have that situation.
Maybe the icon should be more clear that you're going to pick up a vehicle token or something like that. There is also another problem, because in the Battlefield series, you get these various spawn locations you can click on, and at one point you will have so many spawn locations that you won't be able to spawn in the jet fast enough. So neither system really works. The UI has to be more clear on what you will actually be doing. So for people who don't want to pilot a jet or a plane, the icon should be more visible. It should give more feedback to the player.
Now, GhostLeader, what I wanted to know is, how did you get into the AC series?
Well, I got into the AC series in 2006, I think, when they first announced the game. I saw this PC Gaming magazine. I saw a preview of Assassin's Creed, and I thought it was awesome. And ever since then, I've been following the series up until modern day, so to say. That's basically it. I've been a huge fan of the series. I've read the books. I've played the games. I'm a big fan.
And how did you get into the online community, specifically the subreddit?
Well, for a while I didn't know how to use Reddit, so I stayed away from visiting it. But a year or so ago, I actually learned how to use Reddit and navigate the sites. And I found the Assassin's Creed subreddit, and I've been posting on it for the last half a year, maybe more. I've actually visited the Ubisoft forums for a bit in 2010 or so, but I'm more active on the subreddit nowadays.
So we have another song from the Assassin's Creed Syndicate soundtrack composed by Austin Wintory. This time we've got, I forget what it's called. It's called Top Hats and Cane Swords, I think.
Sword canes, yeah.
Sword canes.
Dang it. Man, well, anyway, it's a livelier piece than we've had previously. I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, that it was the piece that played in the basically announcement trailer for Austin Wintory's work on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Huh.
Yeah, it
Wow.
pretty well shows off like he has a lot more of a classical time period style to it. I asked him about it way back when he was first announced. He called it Neo Mendelssohn, so it's very much like a composer from this time period, but a conservative composer, like someone who's still kind of holding on to the stuff from the last era, sort of. Every era of music, like, lots of people are trying new things, and then there's always the people who are like, nah, or they're associated with, like, this other group, like the church, and they're holding back on things. I don't know. I know Mendelssohn is not. You know what? I'm gonna shut up. I don't actually know that much about Mendelssohn. I've listened to some of his stuff, but I haven't looked in depth to his biography. I just know he's in kind of the conservative camp at this period.
Yeah, so I actually like the song. I think you can hear that tune from the main theme as well, which we were talking about when we were talking about the main theme. And I really like that. That continuous little tune that kind of connects over to the different songs. And I really like the song. I'm really liking the soundtrack so far. Yeah,
I do. I am becoming a lot more attached to the kind of period feeling. Yeah, and as you say, like, the little themes that connect it. I've previously argued, like, I don't know, both for and against, like, for instance, having, like, a unified Assassin's Creed theme. Currently, I'm kind of in the against camp. I like each game to have its own identity, but I think within that, it's very nice for games to have their own repeating theme, which we do get. I don't know, some of them do it more than others. Like, AC4's theme shows up in, like, 3 or 4 pieces in the entire soundtrack. But I don't know, some of them do it a lot better or worse, but I like having one theme that you have in one piece, like maybe it's in major here or minor later, you know, for different moments in it. Just having this motif that is modulated and played with to create a unified feeling, but with different moments in the game.
Yeah.
Do we have we heard the main theme of Syndicate yet? Because I knew there was a menu song that we heard.
Yes,
I think we have, because we had the episode where
we
we were continuously being confused about which one we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
Yeah, so we have
okay.
the main theme.
I need to listen to that then.
Yeah, and the main menu theme, which I think the way people talk about it sounds like it's
the main menu theme.
Yeah, it'll also be like.
People think it's the main theme. It's actually.
They're two different things. The main menu theme was the one that has the Dido and Aeneas line. Yeah. And then the main theme is the one that actually sounds cool and stuff.
Yeah, it has some piano in it. I think also the way people talk about it, it's going to be. People seem to think that it might be used like the main menu theme in Unity, whereas Unity didn't really have a main menu, but it shared music with the pause menu. Just when you boot it up, it has the same music as when you pause the game, and I think that seems likely that'll kind of continue. Although I do also think Syndicate has a main menu to go back to.
My thoughts on this song, Top Hats and Sword Cans, is that you really get a good sense through listening to this song what the tone of Syndicate is going to be. Maybe not throughout the whole thing, but at least in some parts of it we know that there's... And we kind of knew this already just from videos and everything, but there is definitely a very lighthearted, upbeat feel to the whole thing. There's kind of tongue-in-cheekness that we haven't really seen since Black Flag, because Unity took itself very seriously.
Yeah.
Almost to a fault, in my opinion. And while many may disagree, I think Assassin's Creed is at its best when it's not taking itself too seriously. And when it has an air of just tongue-in-cheek, we're just having fun, this is really fun feeling to it. And Black Flag, when you listen to one of the shanties, you felt it. You felt we're all just a jolly band of pirates sailing the open seas. And when you hear this, you kind of feel that same sort of, we're just here in London and we're doing things and we're having fun. I like that a lot, and it inspires a lot of hope for what we'll see in this game.
Yeah, I feel like, whereas with Unity, they really went, as well, their own, like, they kind of dropped the story of the period in favor of telling a story about this one person, and the Assassins and Templars. This feels a lot more like a period piece, almost. Like the villains seem very tied to the period. It seems like it's really like taking all the elements of the period and enhancing them and showing them to, like, you've got like industrial barons, and they're really emphasizing just the period's music, the characters you'd see in the period. I mean, I feel like we know the part of a lot more historical figures are going to have a bigger part in this than they did in Unity, which should be quite... I mean, it'll be quite different. It'll be probably a lot more active in terms of, like... it will be similar to AC4 in that, like, AC4's history... The history of pirates is a history of events. It's a history of characters. Because, I mean, you can say, like, oh, Blackbeard sailed here, then he sailed here, but nobody cares about where Blackbeard sailed. They just cared about Blackbeard. And in this game, I feel like it's a lot similar, where it's like, well, it's a period of peace. Stuff obviously happens, but we're more interested in this guy and this guy and this guy, and their personalities and what they're doing.
Exactly.
You mean you want
and I think that's going to be part of...
Yeah, go on.
That's going to be part of why it's only happening in 1 year. The whole game, 1868, which I don't think there's a single AC game thus far that has been that focused on 1 year of a time period.
Yeah, I think.
But I
think Assassin's Creed 1 is technically set up like that, but like it's not as big of a deal. It's only just so like these guys all died in this year, and that's the entire point for that.
Yeah, they don't really tell you what year or when the said event happens. Like in Assassin's Creed 2 tells you, it says the city, it says the year, it says how much time has passed since what you've played previously.
Well, that's something that I think there are going to be a lot of similarities between Syndicate and AC1 in terms of the story, because we kind of, through the story trailer, got to look at who some of the targets we're going to be facing, and a lot of them fit really well with who the targets were in AC1. You know, you had the really weird, you know, the what is it? You know, the Mad Doctor. You know, the guy who's doing all the experiments. I don't remember his name in AC1, but there will be a target in Syndicate that basically does the same, serves the same purpose, and that's kind of true for a lot of these characters. So there will be similarities, but back to the song, you know, and the music of Austin Wintory. I felt I noticed a similar feeling in one of his songs. I don't remember which one, but it is for Syndicate, and it made me think of the game Journey, which I had recently played on PS4. And Austin Wintory composed the music for Journey, which I just found out about 2 seconds ago. So that's a very cool connection, and I definitely hear I can sense that it's the same creative mind going into both of those soundtracks.
Yeah, he also composed, Austin Wintory also composed the soundtrack for the Banner Saga, was it? I've also heard good stuff about the soundtrack. I haven't played either Journey or the Banner Saga, but I really like the songs that were released so far. Obviously, there are a lot of violence. Everything sounds very Victorian to me. When I hear the song, I just instantly imagine myself playing the game and the stuff I'll see. So it really puts you into that mood. It's slightly dark, yet also kind of playful, like tongue-in-cheek. So maybe it really portrays that feeling, the atmosphere of the game. It has a more lighter tone than in previous Assassin's Creed games, like the devs have already said. So yeah, I really like it. I'm looking forward to hearing the soundtrack for Syndicate.
Yeah, if it's anything like, I don't know, I feel like by this point last year we had the full soundtrack released for purchase by now.
Yeah, they kept it a lot more secret this year, I guess, because it's way more interesting and way more enjoyable and way better.
Yeah, it actually makes me want it more. I mean, I really actually kind of liked having Unity's soundtrack a bit early because it made me really excited for the sound of the game, because I don't know, I kind of liked the feeling of Unity's soundtrack. It made me think of things that Unity did not end up being, but I don't know, we'll see. I definitely look forward to listening to the soundtrack in full.
Yeah.
And playing the game in full.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Only 12 days as to recording this.
Oh yeah, I hope that the Witcher DLC is not that long, because I will really want to finish it.
Another news this week and recently removed news, Miracle of Sound, Gavin, released a Syndicate-focused song, and he quickly removed it. But it should be back up by the time this episode is up, so you should go listen to that. Have you guys listened to it before it was removed? GhostLeader, I know you did. What did you think about his song, London Town?
Well, I heard the song before it was removed. It should be up sometime tomorrow, but I quite like the song. I'm a fan of Miracle of Sound, and I generally like how he tries to capture the feeling of the game and usually does a specific style of song. Mm-hmm. So for the Syndicate song, he chose to go for a more British pop kind of feel, and I quite liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the lyrics are nice. Yeah,
he talks a bit about this on Podquisition, which is a podcast that he is a host on, and you should definitely go check that out too. I listen to that often. And he talked about how he wanted to focus more on like a 80s, 90s British pop, pop punk, rock style of song, and I think that really fleshed out and turned out well in this. I definitely really like this song after a few listens. It's not something I'd listen to like often or anything like that. Not like his other songs, like his Fallout 4 song Going Nuclear is really good. I think that's the title. And his GTA 5 song Hard Cash is also really good. I definitely listen to those often. this one's also really good. I think it captures the idea of Syndicate very well, but it's not something that I'd listen to like all the time.
Yeah,
I haven't listened to it yet because it got removed before I could check it out. But I do notice that people have talked about before in regards to Jacob being essentially like inspired by that kind of 70s British punk mentality. And so seeing them explore that in the song is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Connor, what did you think of this thing when you didn't listen to it?
Yeah, when it was removed, and yeah, I have zero thoughts. I just know that I've liked his previous work. I mean, he's kind of in a good genre, just for people liking his stuff because they're all associated with games.
Except for his Fury Road one.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to that.
I heard it was pretty good.
Yeah, it probably was. Fury Road was also pretty good. But I actually forgot about Miracle of Sound since I have a song he did for Mass Effect 2 called Commander Shepard.
Best song ever.
It's super fun. And until after he said my name, I was watching a song he did for The Witcher 3. But I don't know. He's sitting in this great market where somebody will like his songs because they're associated with their favorite games. I think there's a name for that genre. I think like filk music, although I think that's also applicable to anything that could be classified as like nerd culture, I guess. Like, you know, movies, games, Dungeons and Dragons, anime, whatever. But I don't know. It's fun, and you should definitely go listen to all the ones he's done for all your favorite games.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. All right.
And then play your favorite games while listening to them.
This week we got 2 new official AC videos. The first is the new You Do It video involving Gabe Esco and this time Victoria Atkin. And this one is all about the focus on like the street melee combat stuff, and Atkin goes and does some MMA with this instructor, which I thought was pretty cool. I like the video. Although it's interesting that they got Evie's actress to do the fighting, even though Jacob's the fighting one.
That's a good point.
Which is funny, but I don't have much of an issue with that. It's just kind of silly. Guys, what did you think of it?
I didn't care enough to watch it.
Wow! You want to look at Gabe's cute face.
Me too.
I don't know. Like, I don't think they're a bad thing. I just feel like they're not relevant enough to what I'm interested in. Which is
they're completely unnecessary. Is the thing.
And again, like what I said last time was like I think that I don't know. Maybe it's just like Gabe and Esco are like, let's go all hang out with the voice actors. They seem cool. Let's go do things, and then we'll record it and say that it's for a video, so that we have validation.
Yeah. Like, one thing that's made me realize about the last video, actually, was because I was a little confused why they chose that cosplayer, which we didn't really know very well. Last time they didn't, like, choose someone like Rick Bohr. But with this one, we get just someone who's, like, a big fan of AC, and isn't really anything else, and made me realize that they're just doing it because these two are big fans of AC and not because they're well known in the community or anything like that. Which I thought was that's nice, I guess. Maybe they could have made that a little clear from the start, so I wouldn't be questioning why they got on this guy who isn't all that well known. Any other thoughts on that? Nope. Okay. And the second video that came out this week.
Just a second. I wanted to say something, but I was interrupted for a bit. So I've seen the video, and while it's amusing, like the previous video, like the fact that they actually got the actors to do the stuff they do in game, is amusing, but in the grand scheme of things, the video is quite pointless, and I would rather see other videos being released 2 or 3 weeks before release, because I want to see gameplay. I want to see trailers.
Now you made me.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, in the previous every year since ACT3 up until now, IGN has done a making of for the game, and usually that comes about a month before the game actually launches. In fact, last year it was right after E3 that they started doing the making of Assassin's Creed Unity. Are we getting that this year? Has it come out and I've missed it? Is it coming later? It seems like it's a little too late for that now.
Yeah, you've missed it. I think IGN...
Making of Assassin's Creed Syndicate?
IGN did an IGN first thingy, I think last month, where they pick a single game and they cover it during the month.
I know about IGN first, but I don't remember a making of Assassin's Creed Syndicate being part of IGN first. I thought
it wasn't exactly a making of Assassin's Creed. It was just a bunch of interviews and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was basically marketing material. Series. It was marketing material mostly and PR stuff, basically. You didn't really learn anything from it.
It was kind of just like a less dedicated making of video. Basically the same kind of content that would have gone into IGN's making of, but it just kind of spread out over the course of a month in this really silly manner.
Okay.
It was like a features list, basically a PR campaign.
And so the second video we got this week was the AC Syndicate TV Spot, and I know that we all have some thoughts on this. I think it was pretty cool. I watched the first part of it early in the week, and I like saw the knives coming out of the ground, and I just turned it off because I was like, no, I can't deal with this. I'm not going to watch this. But I just watched it in full, and I think it's quite cool, although the knives still confuse me because it's an interesting effect. Although I'm not sure it was completely necessary. But I think I like it.
I think it was super cool with
the knives. I think that the TV spot, what it does is it shows us more than we already knew about Crawford Starrick, and that is that he's clearly a disturbed individual. Based on what we've seen through the story trailer, the whole "I told you not to disturb me" thing, and now there's this. So what we're probably going to get is a bad guy who's really afraid of the assassins. And this provides some interesting potential for a villain character. Personally, I'm hoping that it isn't like this the whole time. I hope he slowly becomes more paranoid as the game progresses, because if he's just really afraid of us the entire game, I feel like that might be a little boring, might be a little bit of a letdown. But getting to see him go from being intimidating, tough, top bad guy to being a, paranoid, wimpy little man just trying to avoid the imaginary blades popping out of the ground in his daydreams, that could be very cool. I'm beginning to suspect perhaps that the big end battle that will be the important ending fight will actually be with Roth rather than Starrick, based on the fact that Roth is the guy who running the gangs for the Templars and everything. But still, if Crawford Starrick really is the overarching villain that they're building him up to be, I hope that there's a layer of characterization beyond he's really scared all the time. That's all that I'm hoping for.
I'm trying not really to look too much into the trailer, because if you guys remember, last year, Unity's TV Spot was sort of similar. It involved basically everyone free running around, jumping, killing people and stuff like that. And it was all pretty abstract, just like this year. So it wasn't really representative of the final game, because people obviously didn't free run around all the time. But this trailer was very interesting. I'm trying not to look too much into it, for example, all the knives popping out being his fear of assassination or something like that. But Starrick seemed like a very cartoonishly evil villain to me. I'm really hoping there is more to his character than that was shown in the story trailer, just being evil for the sake of being evil. Oh, you interrupted me, so I'm gonna shoot you type of guy. So if he actually becomes paranoid, I don't know. If he's not really the main villain of the game, I'll be totally okay with that. Actually, a lot of AC games do that. They portray one guy as the villain, and then they do a 180, and there is this guy as the villain or something like that. So Starrick might not actually be the big bad guy who's controlling all the Templars. He might just be a pawn. So actually his character, he's very impulsive. He doesn't have a lot of self-control. He has these outbursts of violence. So that makes me wonder if he's really the actual leader. How can a leader rule like that? Maybe through fear or intimidation, but people won't follow him. I think they won't be loyal to him. So I don't really know how he got to this position where he leads or controls all London.
If what I'm hoping is correct, then the Starrick that we see at the beginning of the game will not be a paranoid, pants-crappingly afraid man. It will be a guy who is powerful, who is in charge, who is intimidating. And then throughout the game, as you take out more of his underlings, he starts to realize that you're coming for him, and he starts to become very afraid now that he's seen what you're capable of. That I definitely think that the end battle with him, he will be running away from you. You will be chasing him to kill him. And that's, like AC3, the end with Charles Lee. You're chasing him, and when you reach him, you're going to stab him in the throat. And I have to say that I'm okay with a cartoonishly evil villain, because when the Assassin's Creed series in the past has tried to make villains more three-dimensional, less directly villainous people, it's kind of like, I feel like the Kenway trilogy was all about experimenting with, how can we play with the other sides of the conflict? How can we show that it's really just an ideological conflict and that there's a flip of the coin? The whole thing, it's just Templars are the other side of the Assassin's beliefs, and they all want the same thing. And that's great. But, Unity tried to do that with the whole, I'm in love with a Templar, and my adoptive dad was a Templar. But then it never went any deeper than that. It was all very surface level. It was all like, I love her, but we're against each other. They never explored that in any meaningful way. So I'm worried for when they try to do that again, whenever that next time is, that they'll just really mess it up, and they'll not do a very good job of it. At least with a cartoon villain, you get the same sort of, I'm in support of these characters. I want to see this villain be destroyed. And, cartoonishly evil villains aren't always immediately negative. You play a game like Far Cry 3, and Voss, he's cartoonishly evil, but he's also entertaining as hell. You love watching him on screen, and he's part of the reason why that game is so well regarded. I think Starrick definitely has the potential to be that same kind of character.
I think all that matters is what the actual script is, what the actual writers did, because Unity suffered from a very weak script. I think all the characters were underdeveloped, story was basically thrown all over the place, stuff like that, and it's all fault of the script, I think. I kind of agree, actually, that Starrick might make a good villain as long as the script, as long as his lines are actually good, as long as he's entertaining, or has very memorable lines and such stuff like that, like that Far Cry 3 monologue about the insanity. So I just want to see more depth to him. I don't mind him being cartoonishly evil so much, but I just want to have a good villain in the end.
Yeah.
Instead of Unity.
I really do have faith that.
Yeah.
I have faith that they will write the characters well. We've already seen a lot of really clever moments from Jacob and Evie.
The
weapons?
Panther, yeah.
No thanks, I've built my own. I really love the way that they've written the dialogue for these characters. So if that's what we're really going to get, and Crawford Starrick is going to be that kind of, entertaining tour de force villain, I would imagine that his lines should be pretty good. But, we'll find out in a couple of weeks, so I guess it's a bit of a moot point.
Yeah, let's hope. Because Unity had a lot of bad guys, lots of Templars, but none of them really had any lines or any part in the role. Yeah, or characterization or features, they were so bland, forgettable. They were basically a plot point. You kill this guy, you go to the next guy, he tells you to go to the next guy, stuff like that. It was all very forgettable.
There's already more character in these Templar targets that we've seen through the story trailer than there was in Unity's anything. There's more character in Pearl Attaway's pinky finger than even Germain ever got in Unity. So that's something that I'm very confident they will pull off.
This week we got a whole bunch of comic news coming out of New York Comic Con. It's all very interesting. But first, before we get to the end of that, let's just get some small things that were announced. I believe the final tally for issue 1 of Assassin's Creed, of the Assassin's Creed comics series has been announced, and we have 20 variant covers, which I think is just a tad too many, frankly. Like 5, 6, I think would have been okay, and probably would have wanted to try and get the other covers as prints. But any more than that, and now we're at 20, I don't really care anymore. And some of them are just really silly. Some of them their silliness works to their advantage, and some of the covers, the silliness does not. Like there's this one cover where Tom Stoddard is like this action figure in a box. Like almost looks like a Ken doll kind of box. It's very, very silly. Have you guys seen some of the covers? What do you think? Do you like most of them?
The thing for me is that there's not a single one of those covers that I look at and go, oh my god, this is so cool, I have to own this. Not a single one really blows my mind in any way. I also have trouble with just how inconsistently the characters are drawn. You know, Charlotte Dela Cruz goes from being, you know, white to Hispanic, from brunette to redhead to black hair to people did not know how to draw her. And then the one that we see in the preview pages of the comic already looks different than like any of the versions of her on the covers. So it's very strange in that way to me. At least 2 of these covers seem very weirdly over-sexualized. And it really frustrates me that part of the reason there are so many of these alternate covers is that they've taken a few of them and then just made the black and white versions options. So literally, you're going to be, if you're a collector, you'd be collecting 2 of the exact same covers, only one of them is colored and one of them is black and white. It's useless. Absolutely padding for the sake of making more things for people to buy. And it doesn't really, it's like the same problem that I have when they throw out a bunch of special editions of a game. It's like the companies want you to believe that you can, you know, get everything. You can pay to collect all 20 of these or whatever, but no one's actually going to do that. No one in their right mind. So no matter what, everyone will think like they're missing something. Everyone will feel like they're not getting the full Assassin's Creed comic experience because there's simply too many covers to track down and buy. And it'd be a pain in the ass for anyone who wants to collect them.
Yeah.
Nobody wins, basically. Yeah. Nobody wins. Not even Ubisoft.
I wasn't really that sure when you mentioned 2 of the covers were overly sexualized, so I decided to check out the list, and you're right. There are 2 which I don't. It's almost like they've never seen a woman before, because of how just like sexualized they are. It's a little crazy, and there's like, as you mentioned, with the inconsistencies between them. Like there's 2 covers right here where one of them, Tom Stoddard looks like he's about 80 years old with his grey hair, and the other one, he looks like he's about 30 with this brown hair. And like some of them he has hood on, some of them he has a hat on.
Some of them he's blonde. Like, it's very confusing. I was talking about this with Zero Regen on Skype last night, and we were trying to figure out, are those just different drawings of Tom Stoddard, or are they a different character entirely? We don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know. Connor, have you seen the list?
I've seen a few of them. I haven't seen all of them for sure. honestly, I mean, some of them are silly. Mostly, I don't care that much because I don't know. Covers to comics are not too big of a deal to me. They're just there. I'd much rather just read the comics because I'm not gonna like get the comic and spend a large chunk of my time looking at the thing, and I'm not going to rip off the cover and display it on the wall because it's awesome. I'm just going to read the comic, and then I'm going to be done with the comic, and then I'll talk about the comic with people. I'll think about the comic, but the covers are just there. I don't care that much, I guess.
Yeah, I'm more or less on the same boat. I've seen the covers, and I totally agree about the over-sexualization, about the inconsistencies. Honestly, half of the covers, if not more, look like fan art to me. I mean, they look okay, but sort of amateurish, and I don't know what they portray. Every cover is absolutely different. You can't get a good feel about what the comic is going to actually be like. I don't really
wonder
care
if the
about
artists
the covers.
who were commissioned to make these alternate covers, I have to wonder if they even had drawings in the comic of these characters before sending them to these people, or if they literally said, we don't have the actual comic drawn yet. Here are some vague descriptions of the characters we want you to draw. Fill the rest in yourself. And that would seem to maybe explain some of the weirdness in terms of all the characters' different faces and hairstyles and costumes. But then there's the one thing that kind of ruins that, and it is that Charlotte's outfit is very consistent throughout the entire lineup of alternate covers. Like, something of it had to exist because everyone drew it.
Weirdly.
Except for the over-sexualized one, where they made her look like a freaking superhero or whatever. But yeah, other than that's very consistent. So the fact that they couldn't all get the hair color right is pretty baffling to me.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the comics? Oh shit! Fuck, we missed one. The other piece of news that came out this week was the newly announced lineup of comics which will parallel the Assassin's Creed comics, which is being called Assassin's Creed comics. This Assassin's Creed Templars comics will be starting out in March, I think, and it's going to be focusing in Shanghai in 1927, perhaps following the communist revolution there. And as we mentioned, focusing on the Templars, and the modern day will be set in 2016. What do you guys think about Assassin's Creed Templars?
I love it all. I love it already.
I don't really have that much monthly income, so I'm not sure I can actually keep up with this monthly. I'll probably have to wait until Templars comes out as a graphic novel or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely probably doing that for the for both runs, I guess. I don't know. I like the format. I like reading comics, but I don't like how short they are usually, like as an individual comic. And I much prefer graphic novels because, I mean, they're still like pretty expensive if you go by time investment. But
yeah,
I much prefer reading graphic novels than reading for 15 minutes once monthly.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reading them at some point in the future, but I just don't know when would that be, because comics are pretty hard to come by here in Bulgaria, and basically I have to wait for all the issues to come out, and then I'll have to get charged for transportation, stuff like that, for delivery, and they come out as being pretty expensive to come by here. So I'll probably try and find them.
You may just need to read digital versions on Comixology or something.
I'll probably do that. I might do that in the future, but again, it's not really a priority. I like the fact that they're exploring the modern day story a bit more. It seems like they're evolving the modern day into the comics than the actual games, which isn't something I very much like. I'd rather play the game, learn the story, even read it in the game if I have to. But
well, 2016 is going to be an interesting year because, you know, we're getting the movie. And we've actually learned now that the movie will be half modern day, half history. It won't be a history movie with a slight tinge of modern day at the beginning, middle, and end. It's going to be about evenly split between the two, which means there's going to be a lot of modern day stuff in that movie. And it's one of those things where it's like, at this point, the comics have basically shown us that, you know, Animus's animi are everywhere. People own them in their houses.
Yeah,
and they
actually, it's
play
the
through their
Helix
ancestors'
console.
memories on
Yeah.
Helix.
I mean,
Yeah, Helix console. They have them.
It's a public branding
in their
of Animus.
bedrooms. It's a public thing, and it's very public. So my questioning is, if supposedly Abstergo would be like kidnapping Callum Lynch to relive his Aguilar ancestors' memories, why do you even need to do that? Like, why can't you just sit him down with a Helix console and have him do the work for you and think it's entertainment? But I know that's kind of an off-topic thing, but it does tie in, because what I'm wondering is, if you have this world where there are all these different aspects of the world and all these different channels that it goes through, you know, you have all these, like, you know, there's Templar, there's Abstergo, and you have very many ways for these two sides of this conflict to interact with each other. And the question is, like, how do you have this story be told through all these various mediums and never have them all step on each other's toes? I don't know how it's even possible to be trying to tell the same story moving forward at the same time and never once contradicts each other in any way.
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
I guess this is why they have an absolutely huge team of writers and people whose job is to do exactly that, to make sure all the things in the universe fit with each other. And they also do that, I think, by having different characters. Because if several things try to portray one character or event, things might go wrong. They might contradict. So I think they avoid it by doing different characters.
The modern day of the comics will in some form expand on what we know through initiates, because Galena will be present in the comics. And there's a rumor that Gavin Banks may be as well. So we already know that side of the modern day will be explored through the comics. Should we all basically just assume, based on that knowledge, that we'll never be able to see those in a game? That we won't have Galena show up in Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Are they mutually exclusive, is what I'm asking you guys.
I don't know. I think
judging by that,
we'll really see when these things actually come out. I mean, it feels like Ubisoft is taking a gigantic step in the expanded universe territory that not a lot of games have. And I think it'll either be a really interesting success or a really depressing failure. Based on a lot of factors, and I think the only way to find out is to wait and see.
I think they're gonna split up the assassins, because if you guys have seen the modern day leak video, it showed a bunch of characters that were supposedly in Syndicate, and it mentioned Sean, it mentioned Rebecca, but it didn't mention Galena or Banks. So I'm guessing they'll split like the assassins. Sean and Rebecca will be in Syndicate, and Galena will be in the comics. So they might do that. They might do different assassin cells and send them in different places doing different things. So I don't think we'll see them in Syndicate, but possibly in the future, maybe. Who knows? With modern day.
Yep.
And the biggest question mark of the whole thing is the movie, because we honestly have no idea what characters would be present in that. So that's the one where we really, really don't know a damn thing.
Yeah, it's quite tricky, because Desmond evolved through the games, so we got to know him a bit better through each game. But a movie doesn't work like that. People will just forget the character unless they see a lot of him. So, which is why we'll have so much modern day. And if I remember correctly about what you said about how are they going to make him go into the Animus or something like that, if I remember correctly, early versions of the script or something, some stuff leaked. So basically we learned that the Kellen Lynch, is that his character, Michael Fassbender's character? We learned that he's a death row inmate. He's going to be executed. So I'm guessing that...
So yeah, they might... Okay.
Abstergo are going to use their influence or something like that to pull him out, to
break him out of prison.
I don't know if break him out, but maybe take him into their custody or something like that. Basically, like how
I'm really hoping that we get the opportunity. I hope we get to see, because we know through what we've learned through like the lore and the sort of additional content that you can find in the last few games, there's like a whole tier of people at Abstergo who are at the very top, and we've never seen or heard. Like no one's ever met or heard of Alan Rickon in the games, but we know through some of the side content that he's very important. Warren Vidic has a son. Warren Vidic has a son who's doing important stuff for Abstergo, for the Templars. Maybe the movie will explore that whole side of things, and then we have the lower rung characters like Otso Berg serving as the villains for the game parts of the franchise.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Actually, I think Syndicate will deal with that because in that list of modern day characters you'll get to meet, there were actually two people that were very high level Abstergo employees.
Last week on episode 30, we discussed the AC search engine, which was a ton of fun. We played around with that for quite a bit. But just a few days after we talked about it, there was a new development in it. And they released the strange little puzzle things where they decided to section off content from the games and make it exclusive to this search engine. And then a few days after that, after the final puzzle was out, we found out that the reward was an Elise Legacy outfit, which is really cool. We talked about that a bit before, how we hoped we would see some of the female Legacy outfits as well in this one, especially for Evie, and I really hope to see Jacob wearing Elise's outfit. But the thing that came with that announcement is that at the same time the puzzles were released, they also disabled the AC search engine for people inside the United States, which is strange. Like, they didn't even just section off the puzzles aspect, they sectioned off the entire site, which was strange given that
to the Assassin's Creed homepage.
Which is strange given that it was working until they implemented that, and the Legacy outfit, Lisa's Legacy outfit, is only available for people on PS4. So it's only available for people on PS4 and outside the US, which is really quite odd. It kind of put a sour taste in my mouth about this. What was a fun little search engine, just a fun little side thing, a part of marketing, is now suddenly almost like what Initiates became. How it's just there to section off content.
It's now an external service. That's what I usually call them. And that's one of my biggest problems. I actually said this, I think, last episode when I was a guest on the podcast, is that there are too many external services. I'm hoping this Ubisoft Club is just a rebranding of Uplay and not something completely new. But if it is something completely new, that would bring the tally up to, I think, 4 or 5 external services that you absolutely have to be using if you want every single piece of content. And then, as you just mentioned, even those in the US are going to get screwed out of the Elise Legacy outfit anyway, just by virtue of where they live. So we've already seen the Edward Kenway outfit become exclusive to people using Join the Family. And I'm just very, very concerned that there's just going to be too much piecemeal scattered stuff that will restrict people from ever being able to get everything for the game that they want. And it's frustrating to me. It's very frustrating. I know a lot of people agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
In the end, it's just bad for the consumer.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Connor, I know that you have some other thoughts on this. Would you like to enlighten us?
Well, I don't actually know what you're talking about in particular. I could say that I thought that the Elise outfit was cool, but now I'm kind of upset that I can't even get on the search engine because US stuff. Like, I don't know. I've even tried like my very limited knowledge of workarounds and
Proxies, VPNs.
Yeah, and that didn't really help that much. It just like went to the same thing because you can like operate a VPN with my thing on one page, and then that whenever you go to the search engine, it opens a new page, so it just doesn't care. It
seems to me like they really want to incentivize using these external services. They go, okay, well, we've made this join the family website. How do we get people to engage with this website? How do we make people want to use it? And then they go, okay, well, people like outfits, people like customization, so let's just do that. But the problem is that I feel like we've kind of been trained to expect the legacy outfits to be available in some sort of easy way. You know, the last games you had to check in with Uplay. It was generally not that difficult to get the legacy outfits, but as the series has continued and the whole roster of legacy's outfits has exploded to something huge, it's been like they feel like they can just use any of them anywhere to get us to want to use that service. And it really doesn't help anything because we feel entitled to these legacies outfits anyway. I know I do. I feel like if I'm not given access to them in a simple way, by paying $60 for the game, shouldn't that be enough for you guys? You're getting my money.
Yeah, I mean,
why do I need to also jump through hoops that have been lit on fire to acquire an outfit for my character?
Yeah, it's kind of silly because I mean, I'm starting to think about Witcher 3, which had free DLC.
16 free DLCs.
Yeah, 16. I mean, like, yeah, and like they're like fun things, like a new outfit or thing. That's a whole nother thing. Like, people are upset that you have to pay for the expansions because I guess they didn't actually look at what the DLCs were. They didn't pay attention to what was actually going on. They just heard like, oh, free DLC, hooray. But I know, I feel like small things like that are definitely the kind of thing, like, I mean, I defend like large DLCs being something that can be sectioned off and paid for, but like little outfits, I mean, Witcher 3, I do think set a standard for that nobody else is living up to because moolah, but
yeah, Witcher
3.
Witcher
what
3
do they want?
Yeah, go on, man.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, Witcher 3 took all the little things like outfits, like weapons, like weapon animations, all the little things that others would sell and made them free. And what they are selling are actual big expansions, like 10 plus hours each, lots of new content, new side quests, stuff like that. So this is just another one of Ubisoft's bad practices. And the PS4 stuff, it's probably because of the console exclusivity with Sony, like the Dreadful Crimes that are going to be exclusive to Sony as well. Again, it's just skating off from content. It's skating off content away from the player.
It doesn't help anyone. Nobody wins with platform.
It's anti-consumer.
I mean, unless Sony is just lining Ubisoft's pockets, then maybe Ubisoft wins. But I don't see how Sony wins because they've been playing up this exclusivity thing. That was my biggest problem with their E3 conference this year, is that everything was PS4 exclusive, and that's just... No one is going to buy a PS4 because it has more exclusive stuff.
Well, somebody will somewhere, but not. I can't imagine enough to make a difference.
Yeah. I doubt anyone would want to pre-order a game just because you get 2 extra hats on PS4. You pre-order because the game is exclusive, not because the content in it, the small content, is exclusive. And it's just bad for the player because they do it on purpose, getting off little content like that. You get the game and then, oh, but that suit is missing, that outfit is missing, I want it, but I can't get it. And stuff like that should be free. I guess they could use it as pre-order incentives, but it should be made
negative impact
to all players.
The negative impact of gating off content, like more importantly than the outfits, I think it's really bad business practice to have the Dreadful Crimes be PS4 timed exclusive, because first of all, it's a timed exclusive, which is pretty much useless because no one's going to buy a PS4 to play exclusive content that they could get on their Xbox if they just waited a bit longer. So the timed exclusive creates a lot of pain and butthurt because people want to play the content at the same time that everyone else is playing that content. But it does not create any beneficial effects. No one, not a single person, is going to be more inclined to purchase a console that they do not own simply because they're going to get a few missions before everyone else will. It's just no one thinks that way. So it literally is a situation where everyone loses except Ubisoft. Sony loses, we lose, and yeah, it's bad. On a scale of 1 to good, it's bad.
I could say the same about all the pre-order incentives, about the season passes and stuff like that. It's just getting off content away from the player. Buy the season pass if you want to get this gun. Pre-order the game if you want to get this specific mission. Pre-order it from Amazon, from Best Buy, from whatever, from Walmart to get this exact gun. It's just bad for the player. A single gun won't make you purchase a game, but it's there to just make you feel bad. And Ubisoft again, they just play with your mind. They want you to buy several copies of the game. I'm sure there are people that will do that, but it's just annoying. In the end, it's just annoying. It doesn't help anybody, and I don't think it's really pushing their sales as much as Ubisoft think it does. Yeah, it's just anti-consumer.
Thanks so much for joining us, GhostLeader.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining me as usual, Connor.
You're welcome.
And thank you for stepping in for Ares' absence, Lawson.
Yay.
You're very welcome.
What do you mean?
Glad
He
to
was
be
here
here.
the whole time.
Yeah. So...
I mean, I am Ares, 100%, of course.
Ares is just a name.
Next week, I'm not all that sure who we're joined by just yet, but I can tell you what, it's going to be someone interesting, probably.
Let's keep it a secret.
If you want to be
Joined by me,
or would like to talk to either of, like to send us a question to answer on here, then you can send it to us at animuspodcast@gmail.com, or you can send it to me on Twitter, as people often do, or any of us on Twitter, really, or any of us anywhere else. The main place that you'll find us is reddit.com/r/Assassin's Creed, or reddit.com. Nope, that's not it. Assassin'sCreed.com/ nope. What is it? Assassin's Creed. Assassin'sCreed.reddit.com. There you go. Or reddit.com/r/Assassin's Creed. Glad we figured that one out. So yeah, if you'd like to be a guest or like to ask us a question in any of those places, all the music is made by Lawson right here, and you can find that on soundcloud.com/ is it LWS Rocks? I think it's LWS Rocks. No.
Shock Atlas.
Shock
It is
Atlas.
not.
Shock Atlas, that's the one.
Shock Atlas. Yep.
Lawson right here is LWS Rocks. Everywhere else, including Reddit. We will see you all next week. Make sure to leave your all the feedback in the comments. See ya!
Bye!
Bye bye.